I okay, I had to turn it on.
Ah, yes.
So I enabled a feature that says allow the live streaming to be updated from within the meeting. And yes, we are on Substack, folks. Say hi to everybody out in now it's subscriber only. It's not public to everybody because I know that, whatever, but I'm trying to just build some engagement. Hey, Mike, I think you're probably on mute. So if you want to go ahead and if you want to say hi to the gang, and it's good to see you here. But yes, we are on Substack live as we speak. It's probably a little bit delayed, but this is kind of cool. I'm trying out new functionality because frankly, I'm cheap when it comes to certain things. I'm willing to pay for certain services. Like I have no problem paying for my Adobe subscription. Um, I'm going to
Until they
just,
raise that again.
well, well, yeah, I don't know. I think you could be grandfathered in, but I think it just depends on the pricing. Um, but compared to what I spend on other stuff, it's a pretty minor expense. You
It's what
know,
my wife says too. Yes.
so this is I've got my Coke Zero. It's our December hangout. I'm not sure when the January one's going to be, but I wanted to get this one in before holiday madness, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of holiday madness with everybody. So it's good there, and I'm going to monitor the chat window over on Substack, so in case anybody says hi. But we're the privileged ones. We get to be live on Zoom. But one of the things I was considering, and this is the real thing, is that if I can live stream a webinar to Zoom or to Substack, it's automatically recorded and it goes out to,
Oh, wow.
I think
That's
Substack
true. Yeah.
records them. And so, I mean, again, this is an absolute guinea pig dry run. I figure it's no harm, no foul. There's nothing critically important other than us hanging out and you guys get to be on TV. So, kind of. But if it does that, then that solves a webinar potential solution because it could be you can join the class and be live and as a benefit, or if it's a paid class or whatever. But if you wanted to just watch the replay, there's a way to have a replay where
Mm.
people can't ask what the whole point of Zoom is this, right? I mean, so it's not just
Right.
for me to, I mean, I'll share my screen. There's good features there. The screen sharing is useful, and I'd like to be able to, bring people in and maybe do little guest interviews, whatever. But I'm still learning all that. So I really don't want to spend, big bucks on Zoom webinar servers, which is insane.
Yes, that is true.
It's very expensive, and I just don't have enough participants. I like to think I was more popular, but sadly, I mean, I have a Zoom room. My Zoom limit is 100 participants. I don't think I've ever come close to exceeding it for any reason.
So is
Hey,
there a new Substack option on the Zoom stuff? Because I
no,
know there's like Facebook and there's three
right.
different things I
No, so
looked.
so it's not a
Okay.
Substack option, but here's how it works. Um, so it's you have to go into your Zoom account and your preferences,
Right.
and you can enable custom streaming.
Ah,
And
That's
custom
the key.
streaming,
Okay.
it requires three things. One, the stream server. Two, the stream key. And three, the URL to where it's streaming to. And Substack will generate all of those for you, although it's a little bit circuitous, when you go into your Substack dashboard and you choose from you can't do it from the phone, new live stream, and it will say,
Ah.
oh, do you want to do this with your desktop? Because they didn't used to have a desktop version. They literally rolled this out last week. There's a
Yeah.
desktop option now where it's still cropped for your uh, phone, right, for the mobile view. But you
Right.
just bypass that and say, no, 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 I want to do it via Stream Key. Stream Key is the service, and it's just
Huh.
an um, RMTP server, RTMP,
Yeah, all those
RTMP,
initials, yes.
whatever, right? Yes,
Yeah.
right, whatever those are. And so the Substack problem is that it generates the URL first, and then you say okay, and you say schedule it for a later time. You do it for a later time, um, whatever that might be, and then you have to go back into your dashboard, click schedule a new live stream. And when you hit and you go through that nonsense again, and then you hit the stream key option, and then it says, oh, you've already got one. Here's the server info.
No.
And then you
Huh.
paste, hey, Carol, and then you can paste in the stream URL and also the stream key.
Okay.
And then also uh the website, where it goes to. So, Zoom just gives you a link that shows everybody on, or not Zoom, Substack, shows it. But I wanted to try because, there's, like I said, it's a couple second delay between us live here and what gets streamed, but it's kind of cool. And there's a lot of good content. I mean, hey, this morning I didn't have time to tune in, but Joyce Vance was making rugelach, so like, you know,
Uh-uh.
good old holiday cookies are important.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so anyway, that's the technical stuff aside, but we are broadcasting our little Brady Bunch group here, on Substack live, which is very cool. And there's a few people in there. I mean, Carol, you're in that chat too, but I don't know. It's fun because the platform has that functionality. So it's a way to reach people who I might not reach otherwise. People who want to, who aren't maybe on my email list, or whatever, and we can talk about all kinds of things. But
So does
so
it tell you which group they're in? Like I came in on the Zoom. Do you have a separate coding that says these people came in on
well,
Substack or?
no. So the Substack thing is just being broadcast in the background.
Oh, okay.
So people
Okay.
can watch there, but they're not joined in on the Zoom at all.
At all. Okay.
So the
That's what it
Zoom is
is.
just us. The Zoom is just us, because
Okay.
while there are ways to go live on Substack with multiple people, it gets messy in a hurry. So
Right.
this is nice to have this little roundtable chat and whatever we want to do. And office hours, hangouts, discuss, share recipes or something.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be. But so we have our own, you can chat in Zoom, to me, if you wanted to do that, although you can just ask me a question too.
Right.
Um, so let me think of what's going. So the thing I'm curious about is whether or not anybody is, because some of us live where there's winter. Jim, you're not, but
I've read about winter.
yeah,
Oh.
it's a phenomenon in places. Okay, it is absolutely a thing in
I'll send
places.
you a snowball, Jim. How's that?
Yeah, I guess back
Or
east
I'll
got.
bring one out when I come to San Diego in the third week of January,
Oh, that's right. Which is why going to San Diego in the third week of January is just travel
That's true.
nonsense
That's true.
aside.
Yes.
It's a thing. So anyway, but I'm just curious, because we got the holidays coming up, and that's its own uh form of mayhem, so to speak.
Yep.
So that's why I'm doing it now. I wanted to get this done. In fact, my sister is going to be flying in Saturday next week from the UK, so she's going to
Oh,
visit with us
cool.
for a while. So that's good.
Good.
Um, so, but the thing is like we got the traditional holiday. Maybe you're doing family portraits. Maybe you're just taking pictures. It's always hard because it's dark. There's
Yeah.
never enough light anywhere. But I was just curious because like this is the time of year where a lot of us kind of hunker down and we don't go outside as much, and there's maybe fewer opportunities for the kind of photography that we want to do, just because it's maybe cold and unpleasant or just whatever. Like here, everything is brown. Like the grass is brown, the trees are bare. It's just not attractive, in my opinion, unless it snows, in which case, it can be pretty nice. So I was curious if anybody has anything that they like to do this time of year, or like whether it's a photography project or just simply, other things.
Yeah, like looking for a new camera.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, and I not to take us away, but I don't think I can stay the whole time, but I'm considering between a Z8 and your OM1, and I've been reading what you put out this week. Thank you for that.
I was just trying to
Uh,
ruffle some feathers.
I was
well,
gonna say, yeah.
Honestly, because honestly, I got all these people emailing me back or messaging me, commenting.
fussing.
Well, in this scenario, I'm like, yes, correct. You are
Yeah.
Put
right.
it in there. You put it in there.
If you do night
Right.
sky photography with a full frame sensor that's got huge photo sites, yeah, you
Yeah.
can, but
Yep.
yeah,
That
it's crazy.
what I wanted to ask you
Uh-huh.
is, and I saw there was one person in your group. He had a three initials in DOC after that.
Oh yeah, that's less. Yeah,
He has both.
right. He
And
does.
yeah, and I was trying to follow along and see, I saw the first pictures he took with the OM1. But anyway, my question to you is, I live in Virginia,
Mhm.
and I live on Lake Mead, actually, in Virginia, and I have a lot of waterfowl. So I
Yes.
have, and yeah, and the last 8 years I've lived on a sailboat in Florida. So
Oh,
I am
okay.
oh yeah, it was amazing, and I hope to get back to that. But anyway, I take birds, flying birds,
Mhm.
sunsets. So I want to get my hands on these cameras before I buy one. So my question to you is, where can you rent one? Does B&H
That's tough.
no? It's tough.
Well, I mean, you can rent them from, I think, it used to be Lens Rentals or Borrow Lens. Some of these guys,
Something
Lens,
like that. Yeah.
lensrentals.com.
I've rented before. In fact, I rented an OM1 before I went to Panama last year, just as a backup.
Yeah.
Just to have a second body. I've since gotten a second body. What I would say is if you're doing birds, I can make a really strong argument for 4/3 cameras, because I have had clients struggle under the weight of their Nikon
That's
kit. And
that's
don't get
it.
me wrong, some of the stuff is lighter now. There are good things, but if I were buying a Z8, okay, the first thing I would be doing would be thinking about getting the no-brainer would be the 180 to 600 Nikon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
No
Yep.
brainer right there.
Right.
And I don't know if I have.
The reason, I've wanted a Z8 for a long, long time, and
It's a great camera.
and when you had the Z9, I texted you once that I had Z9 envy.
Oh yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah.
But I have had, because of the sailboat and handling the lines, I have had bilateral rotator cuff tears.
Oh.
I've had
Oh,
three surgeries. I don't want to do that again. And right now, I have a Sony, and that camera weighs 2 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets to be a chore.
So I have a little spreadsheet that I made a long time ago to compare weight of how much these things weigh, and it's not fair because there's what your kit weighs, and then there's what's
Right.
carrying. I mean, it's
right.
different.
Exactly.
But if you do the Z8 with a battery plus the 180 to 600, if my numbers are correct, it's a 6.7 pound kit.
Mm.
And that's with one battery. If you did it with the and you add the vertical grip, which frankly I like for large lenses,
Right.
Yeah.
now you're almost bigger
Right.
than you're at 7.5 pounds. On the other hand, with the Z9, you'd be at 7.7 pounds, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
at
You
that
don't have
point,
to buy
now,
a grip.
Right.
right, and you don't have to buy the grip. On the other hand, and I'm gonna say and this is what I say about OM stuff too. You can make a small camera bigger. You can't make a big camera smaller. So you can add a grip to the Z8 and have a gripped body for the times you need it. Like I have the grip on the OM1 right here, but it comes off.
It can't be bought.
I can take it
Right.
now.
But what
Now
purpose is it other than, ergonomics?
it's ergonomically way nicer for long lens shooting because when you're on a
Yes.
tripod collar,
Yes.
and you're not shooting this way, you're now shooting this way, no matter.
Right.
You have your elbows tucked in holding this lens, no matter
Right.
which direction it's in. Okay, that's one. And then also you get a second battery.
Well, but the second battery is in the camera body in the I may
Right.
have the
Correct.
E1MX. Both batteries were in the grip, which was really nice.
Oh, that's cool. Now, one thing that's nice about it depends on how much battery life you need, because one thing you can do with the OM is you don't need to have the battery in the camera.
Right.
You can just run it off the battery in the grip. And, if you've got a spare battery, I mean, what I find is that one battery when I'm shooting birds will easily last a shoot, a morning or an afternoon. A lot of it depends on if you set the EVF to refresh more quickly or not. Otherwise, a battery in this camera lasts me all darn day, So that's what I look at it. Now, if you were to, the 180 to 600 Nikon, like I said, that's probably the one I would have to recommend. It's certainly affordable. It gets you the reach.
It is heavy.
It is
Yeah.
4.7 pounds.
It is heavy. Yeah.
I have a rule that says if it's more than 4.5 pounds, it starts to get heavy. And if it's less than 4.5 pounds, I can probably work with it. And by that, I mean, just you're not taking breaks, or maybe if it's heavier, maybe you want a monopod, all of those
Monopod,
things,
right.
Right,
or
right,
something just
right.
to help you support it. The struggle that I'm having with OM system right now is that they raise the prices on a lot of things, not the cameras, but the lenses. But just out of curiosity, so if I have my OM1 and put a grip on or the OM1 and then say the 100 to 400, which is the most cost effective way to get to, that gets you to 800.
800.
That with the body and a battery, not a grip, that's 4 pounds total. More or less. They also sell, and this is what Les did, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's an option. This is that part where things are overpriced. So a couple of years ago, or 2 years ago, maybe, OM comes out with the 150 to 600. Now, that's the Sigma 150 to 600. Right. It's a full frame lens. It is not lightweight at all. But they modified it to have the proper lens mount and to take advantage of the sync image stabilization. So, you get the best stops or, the best stabilization. That lens is just, it's pretty darn heavy. It's 4.5 pounds. So it's a little teeny bit lighter than the 150, the Nikon one. It's about the same size. It's got external zoom. It's going to be, all of those things. The Nikon has internal zoom, which is, glorious.
Right, right.
On the other hand, you now have 1200 millimeters native.
Right.
So
Right.
that's something to think about, And Les, who's not here this morning, but he asked me because knew that lens is overpriced, especially if you look at how much the Sigma one costs. It's ridiculous. The Sigma lens is, $1,800, $1,900, and the OM one is $2,600, $2,700. It's silly, but you can get them used. And if you get them, and he was able to get one used for under $2,000, and that was his calculus. But
If
again,
you want,
go ahead, Arnie, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you want a good lens, the 300 f4 is terrific lens. You lose the ability to zoom, but the photos that come out of it are just dynamite. And I happen to have both the Nikon Z9 and I'm shooting Olympus as well. But that's another story.
I had the 300 and everything what you just said. And you can get those used even in very good condition. The challenge was no zooming. But it takes the teleconverse. I mean, that thing is very hand holdable. It's extremely easy to maneuver. It's a 600 equivalent. I mean, if you're just doing small birds, You know, and waterfowl aren't large. They're not, they're not warblers. You know, it could be enough,
Right.
but I really like being able to zoom. But I'm with
Yes, so do
Arnie.
I.
That is one of the sharpest lenses I've ever laid my hands on, period.
No.
I mean,
Just
it absolutely sharp. And you can put the teleconverters on it too, so you can get the
Yeah.
reach. But no, nothing like zooming versus having to change it. You know, when you have to put a
Yeah.
teleconverter on, it's kind of a pain.
just
But
as just as an FYI, I'm looking at lensrentals.com right now, and they have both the Z8 and the OM one Mark II for rental.
oh,
So
great.
if you
Yeah.
want to try them out, that's
I
that's
mean,
an easy way.
it's unfortunately not the cheapest way to do
Cheap,
it.
right, it's
You know,
not,
because
right,
you're going to have
Right.
to, because it's a couple $100 to rent one of those
right.
for a week. And
236 for the Z8 and less than 200 for the
that's
But
not
OM.
too bad.
that doesn't include the lens, right? You have to,
No,
You
because
still
I
have to
saw,
have a lens. Yeah, you'd still
yeah,
have to.
and it was a little over three and change for the OM1 as a kit. Yeah. Now, what was that again? Where are you at?
It's
lensrentals.com.
Okay.
I think they're located in Tennessee.
Lens.
And I've rented lenses from them for a long time.
yeah, it's reputable. I mean, very, sadly, we live in a time when your local camera shop doesn't exist. And even
Does
if they
not,
do exist,
they
they don't
don't
have
have it.
pro level gear.
No,
And
no,
they don't
no.
have a lot of time. We had
Yeah,
I
they'll
had a
have
local,
Nikon, Canon, and Sony.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Well,
the Nikon, you could go to any camera store and look at. So
Right,
don't even consider renting one of those. Just try it out in the store
right.
and see if
Yeah.
you like it.
I mean, the Z8 and the OM1, in terms of functionality, are damn close. I would probably give the Nikon a tiny edge with its autofocus features. The Bird AF might be a little bit better. The Olympus ones sometimes get a little bit confused when the bird is like right behind a reed or something. But then again, they
yeah,
all do that. I
they
mean, they
all do
all
that.
have that.
Yeah,
They all have that.
yeah,
The
yeah.
one feature, there's two things about the Z8 that I really like. Okay. There's probably more, but there's two that I really like. The articulating LCD is one of the
Yeah.
best there is.
Yeah.
Period.
Right.
Period. The end. Okay. That's awesome. And also Nikon's 3D tracking autofocus option where you get a single
Yeah,
point that's
yeah.
fantastic.
Fantastic. Right.
OM's got that feature, but it's too big and it's not sticky enough. It works okay, but it's not. It's fine. Actually, I've tried it on flying birds in space. Then it was actually fine. It grabbed them and tracked them. But if you've got anything where there's overlap, it always wants to focus on the nearest object and it
And there,
drives me
yeah,
nuts. Because
right.
the focusing point, you might have it set to where it looks like a single point, and yet it's actually it's like
Right.
Jim will remember. Some of you guys are old enough to remember the D2X focusing
Yes. Right. Yep.
fiasco, where the
Yep.
focusing indicators, the focus points on the viewfinder were actually smaller
Wow.
than the focusing sensors themselves, the AF, the phase detect sensors. And so if you had an overlapping object, what the D2X did is it didn't prioritize the near one. It split the difference and focused on
Oh,
neither of them.
Oh,
oh,
And
geez.
most of the time it was not an
uh,
issue, but it was real. And when the D3 came out, everything was better, the focus points. So,
yeah.
it's true though. I mean, these are hard things, but I think, pound for pound and dollar for dollar, OM1 Mark II, and I do recommend the Mark II, even though
Mhm.
it's the differences are small, but there's significant differences. That one will let you do the advantage of the OM1. Okay, is now you got twice the reach. Everything's going to be smaller. You can always try out other lenses, and there are a lot of lenses on the used market. Okay, its Bird AF is 90% as good as them. It's very close. It's really not like you're going to be missing shots. And they all have their foibles when it comes to subject detection. What I like about the OM cameras, though, is you can shoot pre-burst, pre-release capture in RAW, which I don't know if Nikon has changed that. I know they've added things in
No.
firmware, but I don't think that's one of them. So it means if you want, so pre-burst capture is when you see the bird getting ready to take off, you start buffering,
Yeah.
and then you
Right.
press the button, and it captures a defined
Mhm.
number of frames from before you press the
Before,
button.
right.
And that's a killer feature, which I never really
Yeah.
thought I needed. But I tried it, and it does work. So when you get that
Yeah.
bird and you want just the toes launching off, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's very cool. So that's a nice feature. It's and I think it can shoot a little faster frame rate than the Z8, um, because I think the Z8 gets capped at what, 20 frames a second in RAW.
I think so.
And I think you
Right.
can go, well, with an OM1, you can go 25 frames per second, no problem. And with some lenses, you can go as fast as 50 frames a second. I'm not recommending that, but it's a thing. You know, you can
Yeah.
do it. So there's, but some of it's going to be how big are your hands? How well can you hold the camera? I
Yeah.
have
Right.
clients who struggle to
Yeah.
reach front function buttons, even
Yeah.
on an OM1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a real
Yeah.
thing. I wish the OM1 had the tilt LCD. I don't like the kind that flip out. On the other hand, I can turn it around and, you know, it's
Yeah.
protected. You know, these are
Right.
all little things. The OM1 has 2 slots, 2 SD cards. The Z8's going to use more expensive memory cards. The XQD cards, or no, or the CF Express
CF.
cards.
CF
Yeah, they
Express
changed.
Type B.
I mean,
Yeah,
and I think it has a SD slot as well, right?
it does. It does.
Right.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
I don't like mixed cards
But it'll
generally.
also use XQD cards.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of which, a little birdie told me that um I'm in a text chat with a couple of friends of mine from Nikonian's days, and we were just talking back and forth, and apparently the pre-orders for NAND, whatever that is, you know, the memory chips,
Hmm.
Mhm.
because of the AI, these data centers or whatever they're fitting out,
Mm.
they've already sold out their entire
Taking them. Yeah.
inventory for those
Really.
clients. And so
Yeah.
memory cards are about to get expensive, apparently.
Mm.
So one of the things I do like, I mean, I like my nice, I mean, I'm not going to lie, the CF Express or the XQD cards are nice, robust size memory cards, you know. SD cards, you know, they're just kind of,
Yeah.
I've never had a problem with one, but I always fear that something is gonna happen to them. But you can get the fast SD cards. You know, I've got the ones that I'm running right now are I think SanDisk has some that are pretty darn, you know, 300 megabyte per second read write. The OM1 Mark II has plenty of buffer, so you're not going to run into those issues like you might. Z8, same thing, plenty of buffer, fast memory cards. I think it just comes down to what all else you're doing with it. If I was just
That's
really focusing on
yeah.
wildlife, because you're going to
Yeah.
be cropping, so why buy a 45 megapixel sensor to use it in DX crop? Because you will. I can guarantee you
Yeah.
will. Because I
Well,
did all the time.
and the last time we met, I asked you about printing.
Mhm.
And the reason why I asked you about that is because I support the Suffolk Center for the Cultural Arts, and that is I live in Suffolk, Virginia, very
Okay.
small, very small, about 20 miles from Norfolk. So
I've stayed in Suffolk one night on a
have
road
you?
trip. Yeah, a
Wow.
long time ago on the
Yeah.
way to Norfolk.
Well, so they have call for amateurs all the time. Like right now, there is a showing over there for a tribute to Harvest, and so I went out and took some shots of a cotton field right down the road. Got down on the ground, shot up in the blue sky, big old cotton puffs, and that is why I asked you guys about printing.
Hmm.
And so, you know, that is, and that's why I asked you when you went on your trip to South Carolina, you know, what size did you print and all that?
Yeah, and
Because
I don't know because
that,
I sent her the pictures
right,
and I don't know
right,
what they did,
right.
but you can easily print, you know, well, I say easily,
It
natively,
depends.
just going into Photoshop from an uncropped OM1 image is 16 by 20.
16 by 20.
That's na that's native. That's at 240 DPI. That's with no upscaling whatsoever. You can just upscale that in Photoshop easily enough. And if you have something like Topaz, if you're really into that, you can go much farther. So it's funny you brought that up because this morning I was, people were saying, what about this? What about that? One of the advantages of the bigger sensor is less noise at high ISO, more dynamic range. I mean, this is the thing. And where do you see that? You see it in the shadows. And where you see it is not with good exposures. You see it with tough exposures where you're trying to keep the highlights protected and you have to bring the shadows back up, right? This is real. I'm not going to lie. That's real. Now, but you'll see that in every camera. Okay, you'll see it in every camera. It's just how much do you see it? I think there's a generalization of people who look at this stuff to have a complete lack of ability or knowledge or understanding to run noise reduction. I mean, I swear to God, it's almost like people just don't even realize that you can do noise reduction. And I'm talking about good noise reduction, not the old school, the old styles stuff. So this morning I took some really crappy pictures in my dark hallway because at the end of the other room, the sun, light was coming through the window. So it was exposed for that. And I bring this back. And yeah, there's all kinds of noise in there. Of course there is, right? It was, because you're starting at ISO 1600 and then you're pulling the shot, right? So that's like shooting at 25,000. And I tried three different things. Um, I did the Adobe denoise, cranked it up a little bit, and then I sent it into DxO Pure Raw 5. And I did both of they have two different algorithms, and it's weird as to why they do this. There's the previous version, and then there's 3. And you would think 3 is better than 2, but 2 is better than 3. Anyway, I ran them at the same settings, just with the two different algorithms. And what I found out in those extreme cases, yes, the DxO did a better job of getting rid of noise, but it did a very good job of it. And the fact of the matter is I'm pulling up literally a black coat in a dark hallway, and I'm seeing some, tonality in there. It wasn't just all blotchy. So you can do that. And then the other experiment that I did was the OM cameras have, and this will be an article probably at some point when I bang it out. The OM cameras, as well as I think the Z8, have the pixel shift high res mode. Doesn't the Z8 have that?
I
Or
believe so. I never
yeah.
used it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems it
Yeah, I
seems
think
silly
so.
when you've got 45 megapixels to begin with, right? So the OM cameras have two modes for high res. They have one called handheld, and they have one called tripod. And basically what it does, and all the cameras that would use this feature do this, they move the sensor around using the IBIS system, and they take multiple shots, and they merge them into one.
Merge them into.
And so in the handheld mode, it does one way, and then the tripod mode, it's got, stabilization is going to be disabled entirely because it's using the IBIS to move the sensor. And what I found was weird, and I have to go back and look at it. When I put it into the handheld mode, which generates a 50 megapixel file, so very, 49.9 megapixels, I looked at it, the highlights looked like they were clipping. And I was like, well, this is really, like the tonality wasn't right. It was bizarre to me. And I always expose a little bit to the right, but that shouldn't matter because in this camera, you can get 14-bit. The normal RAWs are 12-bit, but if you use the high res mode, you can do 14-bit capture, which okay, that's kind of cool. So I looked at the picture and I ran it into Raw Digger, which shows you the number of clipped whatever, right? And it kept all the data, the empirical data was telling me that my original raw file, which it does save as well, it saves the original frame and then the high res frame. It said that the high res frame had less clipping than the original frame, but I could show you on my computer and it would be a no-brainer as to which one looked better. So what I did was I took that original file, edited it, just made it was just a bright sky. It was a, shot out the front door, it was nothing. ran it into put it in Photoshop, did the matching upscale in Topaz 1 point, I made a match. And there's no question which one looks better, the original file. And part of it is because when you do this trick with the censorship thing, it's like doing a multiple exposure. So it's like doing a long exposure almost. So things that move, if it's windy, things start to blur and all that stuff. And so then I tried it with the 80 megapixel mode. And it was very clear that in the 80 megapixel mode, the high res file definitely had cleaner shadows than the original 20 megapixel file. I mean, I could see, I zoom into 400% or something, and it was definitely there. But the original file seemed to have a little bit better highlights. It wasn't too bad. The exposures weren't that far off. So it was definitely better in that mode than in the 50 megapixel mode. But then the same thing. If I ran the first one through denoise in Lightroom to clean that up, and then I up-resed it in Topaz, these two shots were virtually indistinguishable from each other. Or it was like, well, this one has a little artifact here, but that one has a little artifact there. It's like the difference, and mind you, you're looking at 200, 300%. So it wasn't a big deal. So I honestly don't think that the average person, which is 90% of us, are, that should be 50%, the average person. No, the typical photographer is going to be able to print even cropped files from an OM1. It's not really like that. There are times when you'll see stuff with just, total dynamic range, or if you really pulled shadows up, you might see a little differences, but by the time you factor in it's on paper, there's softness, all of these things, you're viewing it from farther away.
Right.
I mean, all that stuff. People used to print full 20 by 30s from 6 megapixel cameras. So we forget about the history there sometimes, I think. It's how it goes.
Yeah.
But anybody do anything fun over the holidays or planning to, or have a project? My winter used to be, this is when I go through my Lightroom. Was that the new drone there, Kim?
Yes, the 360 drone. So that just
Wow.
arrived 5 minutes ago from
Oh,
UPS.
Oh, is that why you went over there? Okay.
Yes. So
I can't fly them anywhere here. I have a little Mavic Mini 2 or something. There's nowhere I can legally fly it. We've got so much restricted airspace here between the Air Force, the Army, the airport, Air Force Academy. I can't. I can probably fly it, but it probably gets capped at about 100 feet, which frankly is about as high as I ever want to go anyway. It freaks me out to see them way up there.
Way up there. Yeah. Well, I'm close to where Carol is, but I'm in Manassas, and I'm right in an area that is free and not covered by either one.
Cool.
Wow.
That's cool.
So it's really kind of wild. So I can get up to 400 feet and shoot around, that sort of stuff. So I figured, well, this would be a cool thing to do, 360 drone.
Nice.
So I'm going to bring it out to San Diego there, Jason.
Okay, I don't know what the restrictions are. Jim probably knows. You might be able to get away with it in La Jolla, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I would hate
because
they don't like you flying drones over the animals because it's a nesting area.
No, that's right.
So
and I agree.
I think I've seen, no, actually, there was somebody flying a drone there a couple of years ago, and the rangers said, where is this person? We need to tell them they're not allowed to do that. So I'm pretty sure that you can't fly them in La Jolla. So you might think twice about that, because it would suck to bring something all that way and not be able to be able to use it.
But in I've seen drones down on the beach and Mission Bay and that sort of stuff.
Well, there probably are places where that's fine.
Yeah.
And we'll go to there's one spot I like to go to where we went last year for the first time. It's just down in Mission Bay, kind of the San Diego River area.
Okay, right.
It's one of those hit or miss places. You never know what you're going to see, and it's just different. It's different.
We boarded our horse right down there. Used to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know that area too. So, yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
Well, I happened to go to a party last week at George's at the Cove in La Jolla and looking out on the ocean. It was a gorgeous day, and there were our pelicans just going back and forth,
Back and forth, really?
waiting for the guys with the cameras to come.
Yep. So this is their time. This is their time. They start getting going, and hopefully the cormorants will be nesting.
Yeah,
You never know when the
yeah,
timing. This year I think I'm doing a little few days later than where I did it last year. So, just trying to work things through. What was I gonna say? Um,
I have a question for
yeah,
you.
sure.
What is that emblem on your do-rag?
It's the Colorado flag.
I was going to
Oh,
say, yeah.
Ah,
oh.
Having been born in Colorado, I recognize that one too. Yeah.
It's a centennial state.
Yes, that's right.
This is just my hairdo, It's like
Uh,
I get the ones that have like UV fabric, so then they keep the sun off. That's kind of a nice thing. Um,
there you go.
my project is I haven't started this yet, but I bought all the stuff. I am going to try making cyanotype prints,
oh wow.
Oh, huh.
which is not that hard, but
Yeah.
it's not that hard on paper. I mean, in
This is a
in
little
theory,
this is a little retro here.
this is a retro. So what do you do
Yeah.
with so I thought about
Yeah.
that, and people do this. You can buy the paper
Uh-huh.
pre-treated. I bought the chemicals. So there's two solutions. I forget what they are, ammonium, aluminum, whatever. They're something. And it's the original chemicals from that they developed in the 1800s. It's the same process. And so what you
Yeah.
do is you mix these two things together. Uh, the bottles came with just the powder in them. So you fill up the bottles, make the solution, and then you solution A and B, mix the two together in equal parts, and then that is stable for a little while, and you treat whatever substrate you want. So paper or fabric or whatever. And you got to do that kind of in dim conditions. And it's UV sensitive basically. And so then you can either put it out in the sun, um, or you can use a UV light. So I got a UV, light,
Hmm.
it was inexpensive, and I'm going to try that and see what happens. But the thing I thought would most people do things like objects,
Right.
leaves, press, whatever. So I got some acrylic that we can have everything be flat. So I'm going to try that. But one of the things I am going to attempt, I bought a pack of laser jet transparency paper, transparency film,
Okay.
with the idea that I take a photo, I invert it to make it a negative, print it on the laser printer, black and white transparency, and then that becomes a giant 8x10 negative, if you will, and put that on top of the paper and see if it does a photo print kind of with the cyano.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know. So it's a fun little project that I will probably undertake in my basement where it's dark. So or something like that.
Yeah. You might even call that a dark room, right?
Kind of. It would be
Kind of.
a
Yeah, that's
darkened
right.
room. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how much latitude you have with I don't think it's nearly as sensitive as regular photo paper. So it's more like, you're talking like you have to expose it even with a UV light for 3 to 5 minutes, probably.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, we'll see. But I'm gonna try it. If it works on fabric, then that can be cool too, because you could make crafts with it. I
With
just
it.
find like having something tangible is sometimes nice, even if it's do it yourself. It's kind of fun.
Cool.
My project is that I volunteered to digitize uh, Larry's. You remember Larry,
Mhm.
brother-in-law, his prints. He sent me a box of maybe
Oh, prints.
150. So I'm using my printer scanner and
Oh, wow. Okay.
doing that. So
That's an
it's
undertaking.
multiple days work. So,
I was
Yeah.
gonna say that's
yeah,
that's slow
yeah,
going. There's nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't have the negatives to scan though, so you just have
No,
to go with
no,
it's too bad. But
yeah,
at least they'll be at least they'll be saved. That's the
Yeah.
important thing. They'll
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
preserved.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything fun coming up other than, baking, holidays, trying to stay sane, trying not to go crazy?
Yes.
I have a project where I've taken pictures that I've shot years ago, different cameras and using different softwares, so to speak, and then developing with the tools that are available today and
Oh,
see what,
yes.
and then I could also judge, my abilities have gotten, have they gotten worse or better,
Yeah.
and doing and seeing how that comes out.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's good.
And so that's excellent. And I'm a huge proponent of that because I go back to stuff. I have digital
Yeah.
captures now going back to 2005 from
Yeah.
my D2X, and I will dust them off and look at them and hey, those are 12 megapixel, 12-bit raw.
Yeah.
And guess what? With the new tools you can do with that denoise and
Yeah.
the upscale stuff, wow, you can do some really great things with it. Um, One thing, I don't know how many of you guys are all, I know some of you use Lightroom, but not
Right.
everybody does. But I will just say, even on photos you wouldn't call a landscape, try the landscape mask button
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's not it identifies all kinds of things. It does buildings, it does trees, it does ground, it does artificial, like asphalt, paved, it does water, it does snow, it does
Hmm.
sky.
I've not tried that mask, but I will now.
So you just
Yeah,
hit it.
so I.
Yeah.
So hit the button,
Yeah.
landscape mask, and
Yeah.
then it'll sit there and
Yeah.
it'll analyze. And then it'll pull up a checkbox list of everything that it detected.
Okay.
And
Wow.
sometimes they overlap. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like mountains and
Yeah.
it's like you just, and what
Yeah.
happens is when you hover your mouse over each line item, each
Hmm.
item, it will highlight on the screen showing you what the mask is
Yes. Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Very cool. Very cool. And then you have the option to check off all or as many as you or as few as you want. And then you also have the option of making them a composite mask or individual masks.
Yeah.
So do you want to
Okay.
make separate ones or do you want to, it's the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing as they do for people, for the teeth and the eyes. And, do you want it to be separate masks? So
Yeah.
here's
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
So you can generate one, you say, okay, I want the sky and I want the water, but this next one, I want to make a combination of these two and just do
Uh,
one mask and combine it. And then you can also then use the landscape option in your add, subtract, intersect tool.
Oh, wow.
So when
Cool.
you say,
Okay.
oh, sky, oh, but I need to subtract out the uh mountains or add or
yeah.
subtract or whatever, it's very good. Again, and they're never perfect, but they get you into a starting point that's just tremendous. So the masking there, I don't know how many different subjects that AI for landscape tries to identify. But I know it does mountains, natural ground, vegetation, roads, artificial ground, pavement, whatever, sky, water, snow, and buildings, architecture. And sometimes that vegetation mask works better than just trying to mask the darn thing, like there was times when I couldn't get it, like grass, and it masked it perfectly. Blade,
Yeah.
like grass
Really?
blade
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So
Huh.
yeah, try that. That's something to. This is a great time of year to play around with your old photos
Yeah.
and also go through and cull out, you know, do all your cleaning house and your
Yeah.
Yep.
of
Yep.
stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
also a good time. Oh yeah, go ahead, Arnie.
Matt Klakowski,
Hmm.
I can't pronounce his
Yeah.
last name,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he did a few months ago. He did something with that landscape um, masking on his. He had a, video on it. Plus, then he had some kind of add-on that you could add to a preset that you could add to Lightroom that will do it automatically for you.
Oh,
Just hit
Okay.
landscape, and then it will generate all those
oh,
different things.
so yes. So here's the thing that this is not rocket science, but most people don't know it. If you create masks from the AI tool, I wouldn't do them any other. I wouldn't do this for a regular mask. But if you create a mask using the AI tool for the subjects or whatever, and you make a preset in Lightroom, and you get the checkbar, what are the options that you want to use to make the preset? You know, exposure or whatever, light, white balance. It'll show masks, and it'll have all the masks, and you can just save them. And you don't have to make any adjustments to those masks, although that would get saved too, of course.
Right.
But if you just have them in there by default, then that preset would create those masks. It's the same thing as what, I mean, I don't know if it really would matter with the landscape one, but if you really wanted it to go through and look for all, it will only make masks of the things it can find. So if
Right.
your image doesn't have mountains in it, it's not going to pull up mountains. You know, it's just it's not going to be there. But yeah, you can do that. So you can make masks, and then you could have adjustments. That's the idea of the preset. You could say, I want a preset that makes my sky look this way. So it would be, the preset would be select sky with whatever underlying adjustments. And then when you apply that preset to a new image, it finds the sky each time. It doesn't,
Yep.
you know, it's not using the mask, it's using the AI algorithm to do it. And it's the same with people too. So it's very, very useful. It just being able to generate masks like that quickly, that's, to me, that's a huge thing. That's really, really good. So anybody else have any thoughts as we head into our holidays? I know a lot of people are going to be traveling. I hope everyone stays safe and
Yeah.
does that. My tour operator for the Spain trip says if one, I did have one solo spot, but they said there's still availability at the hotel. So if someone wanted to join the Barcelona trip as a solo traveler, talk to me. I can probably make that. I could probably make that happen. As far as the other things, January will be in San Diego. I think March. I don't know when.
So
April is Florida. I don't remember
is
when all these trips are.
is Kim coming to the bird thing?
Yeah, Kim's going to be
Yep.
in San
I'm
Diego.
finally coming.
All right. Maybe we can have lunch at Point Loma Seafood or something like that.
I will
That
not say
sounds
no to
good.
that. I will never say no to that place.
Okay.
That sounds good.
I had spent the weekend with my uncle and aunt in Sebastopol, and it was his birthday, and we got to go to Petaluma. Why? Well, we're gonna have lunch in Petaluma, but that's also where we buy the Dungeness crabs. Okay, yeah, that
There you
sounds
go.
good.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we had crab for dinner Monday, and it was awesome. Fresh live Dungeness.
Oh,
You know,
Ooh, nice. Very
the
good. Very good.
the best way to do it. So
We
anyway,
just
but
have blue crabs here in the
yeah.
bay, so you know. But
they're
those are
good.
good too.
They're good, but I would prefer to have somebody else
Work
process
on them.
them.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
they're
That's
harder
true.
to get the meat out of the blue crabs. I think Dungeness are sort of, you know,
They're big chunks.
I'm
Yes.
equal opportunity when it comes to consuming crustacean you know, parts, but you know, that's all good. Um, well, hey guys, we're about at the top of the hour. I think we're
Okay.
getting pretty close, but hey, thanks. I mean, I really do appreciate you guys joining in. All the folks out on watching live on Substack. I see you too. I see Lori, I see you out there, and Gilbert and Sony and Jules and June and July and Sophia, John. I see you all. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to try to be doing more live streaming stuff, but I'm still, you know, getting used to it. But I think it's kind of fun, if nothing else. So, and Carol,
And
we got to talk about doing some lessons once you get your new camera, right? So figure that out.
Yeah.
If you want to ask me more stuff, just drop me a note, and then, you know, I know
hey,
it's not an easy decision.
Yeah. And
Carol, since you're at Lake Mead, you may want to come up to Burke and District Camera because Eldar does do rentals there.
okay. And that's in Manassas?
Yeah, well, it's just above Manassas.
Okay,
It-
Burke.
Burke, yeah, District Camera. They've got a Burke store. So that's where I
Okay.
end up going all the time.
Jason, I thank you for that. I on B&H, they say that you have like a 30-day
Return.
trial and you can return. Is that pretty easy? If I ordered the OM one and didn't like it, because that's the way I'm leaning. Because of the weight. Because of the weight.
Right. I think so. I mean, even the used camera shops offer at the very least a 14-day trial period where you could send it back, no questions asked, if I think so. Because you can get the the version 1 of the 100 to 400, the the current one, you can get those for under $1,000 used. They're like 800, $900. And yes, the new one is a little bit better with the stabilization, but it's not so much better. And the thing that I keep reminding myself is I go back and I didn't sell mine when I bought my big 150 to 400, or big, whatever. The price on that one went up by an astonishing amount. I mean, it was already on the borderline of like what I would be considering to buy anyway. And what used to sell for what I thought was too expensive, $7,500, is now $8,999. And that's probably your tariffs coming home, because it's
Right.
Yeah, right.
because
Yep.
Right.
it's hard to discount things that are that expensive. But OM runs their sale. I think the OM1 Mark II is 1899, 1999 right now. It's, that's two Z8s. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
it's true. Like
Right.
like I said, and
It is.
it depends on what other use cases you have. It is a do everything camera. But if you were like, no, I want to do hardcore landscape photography, I would say, well, then lean towards the Z8, because that
Yeah.
sensor has just got so many more pixels on it and, better dynamic range. But
Yeah.
again, everything I talked about in my little webinar
Right.
last week and in the
Uh-huh.
article that I wrote,
In the article, yeah.
it was not that the differences aren't there. That I don't want anybody to think that, oh no, this micro four thirds sensor is identical to a full frame sensor, No, it's not. But when you get outside of some edge cases and you talk about how you might be using it in day-to-day scenarios that aren't the lab in the benchmark, it's not the perfect world. Kim, I think about us in Prague when you were there with
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and the ability of hand holding, and
Yeah.
that was a huge thing. And
Thing. Yeah.
now if you'd had a tripod there,
Oh, yeah.
your
That's
shots
true.
would have been just, all the dynamic range and all the resolution, all of that
Right.
stuff. But that's not how life works. If you
Right.
make your living doing night sky
Right.
photography, fine, then get what you need. But
Need. Yeah.
but honestly, what frustrates me more is it's the dual. This is better, and oh, yours is inferior, and I hate that,
Right.
because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, there's two kinds of people. There's people who look at specs, and there's people who take pictures. I
Exactly.
Yeah. True. Right.
do both.
Exactly.
I do both.
Yeah.
I do both. But let's face it. I don't care how good the MTF chart for that lens is if the thing is 5 pounds and I don't ever want to take it out of my bag.
Right.
There are practical considerations that you have to make for real world situations. And so I think I'm going to go live next week maybe and talk about where to buy things used, because that seems to come up a lot. And if you guys have suggestions for
Yeah.
topics, let me
Yeah.
know. Um, I'm trying to find topics, but I'm also trying to find people who I can chat with, because I think it's more fun. I
It
I
is.
I don't like just talking to my screen. I find myself doing that too many times, too often.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but anyway, I think that's it. But you know how to reach me. Again,
Thanks.
thanks for subscribing. It's huge. I started this project at the beginning of the year with no idea what it was going to be. And I think I have 1,100 subscribers now.
Great.
You are some of the nicer ones because you actually chose I'm trying to offer perks here, people. Throw me a bone. I'm trying to throw you a
There
bone.
you go.
I'm
Yes,
trying,
yes.
trying to give you perks. But I appreciate all the support, no matter how.
Your standards are fairly low for being nice.
Yeah.
So just get through the holidays. I know it can be stressful and for all the reasons, but I thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and we'll do it again next month. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks for your time.
Take care, everybody. Bye
All
bye.
right.
Thank
Take care now.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.